Hello everybody, welcome to part 2 here on the basics of making 3D video with the Deforum 0.7 notebook. So I spent so much time on strength, which I believe is a really important setting because that can really make or break the way you make videos. It can get a lot of people frustrated when their videos just come out ugly over and over again. So I kind of wanted to show that. And let me also, before we start here, I want to say one more thing that's really important is that each setting, and I kind of said this the last time, but each setting is not a solo act, especially when we're making videos, much more so than just making a single image. All of our settings will have effect on every other setting, kind of. So we don't want to look at any setting as an island. All of our settings, we want to make them work in harmony with the other ones. For example, if our speed is higher, like say 5 or 6, we've got kind of a much faster video, then we would also probably want to turn our noise schedule up, and we might be able to get away with turning our strength schedule up a bit because it's moving faster. So everything, there's a lot of different ways people can make good videos, and it's going to be up to you to just kind of see what you want for your video. So I just wanted to kind of emphasize that is really important. And even on down here to things like the prompt itself, some prompts might be prone to getting real ugly after a while if they have a lot of kind of blank areas, that kind of thing. To the scale, which is kind of telling us how much diffusion takes place with each step, how many steps, everything works with everything else. So where we left off last time is I gave a demonstration of strength settings too high, strength setting too low, and then kind of a good happy medium, a strength setting just right, so to say. Again, there is no just right in these videos. It just depends on what we're doing and what we want to create at the time. So the next thing I'm going to get into here is these other movement keys, and I'm also going to show you just keyframes in general, because if you notice, these are all labeled 0. And so what this means is we can change our speed from time to time. So I just kind of wanted you to get a good basic understanding, though, in the last one of how the strength setting works and how it can affect things if you leave it too high or too low for too long. But now that you've seen that, now you can turn it up too high and too low now. You'll just have to turn it back every once in a while. So I want to show you, though, first how this works. So I'm going to start off demonstrating here. We're going to start off with let's say a speed setting of 3, and then let's say we want our video to pick up the speed at keyframe 50 up to 10. So what I want to show you here, though, is this is actually the wrong way to do it. So I'm just doing this to kind of make a point here to show you how the keyframes work. It actually works with kind of a pattern. So, well, not a pattern. What it'll do is a gradient. So what'll happen with this is actually from keyframe 0 to keyframe 50, it will change the speed of 3 from the frame 0 up to speed 10 gradually over the increment. So these work in increments. So actually to get what we want here, speed of 10 at keyframe 50. I'll show you how to do it next. First, I want to show you, because this will be a really common mistake that a lot of people make, myself included, the first time I did it. So we're just going to run this really quick. So I'm going to show you what it will do here in real time, and I still have the same prompt and everything from the last one. We're just going to pick right up here where we left off. And we've got 80 steps, so it's going to first render 80 steps, and then it should render, I think, 32 or so, because I've got the strength setting at 0.62, I believe. Let me go and check that really quick. Yeah, 0.62, 0.62. So a strength setting of 1 would be 100%. That would just keep the frame indefinitely. So that would get real ugly really quick because it'd just be rendering the same thing over and over again. So again, let's remember I started this off at keyframe 0 with a movement speed of 3. And then keyframe 50, I put a movement speed of 10. That is how you would kind of normally expect this to work. You say, okay, I have it at speed 3 here, at keyframe 0, so at keyframe 50, it's going to start going to 10 instead of 3. But that's not actually the way that it works. It's going to gradually change that speed of 3 up to 10 from keyframe 0 to keyframe 50. So you actually only get the speed of 3 on the very first frame there. So I'm just kind of showing this just to show you what I mean, and then I'll show you how to correct it, because you'll be using keyframes not just in your movement speeds there. You can use them in a lot of things, including the prompts, in the strength setting, and everything. It will act that way. Well, except for the prompts. It will act the way you think on the prompt. So if I put keyframe 50 and a new prompt, it will wait until keyframe 50 to change that prompt. That is the one exception there with the keyframes. Okay, and there we start off there, and as you can see, it right now has a movement speed of 412 already. It's 4.12, I mean, so it's already turned that initial movement speed of 3 up a bit, and it's going to continue to do so with each frame. Now you see right there, now it's up to 4.68, and it will continue to do this just on a mathematical basis up until keyframe 50, where it will hit 10. So you can see already by, let's see, keyframe 16 here, we're up to a speed of 5. And I'll go ahead and let this play up to keyframe 50 just to kind of show you. And then I'll show how we can fix that. We can also use it. This is something I use quite a bit too. I kind of like gradual movement changes, that kind of thing. It can really add a lot to a video. You just have to kind of know though how to control it. That's why I wanted you first to start off. I would suggest before you start doing stuff like this, just render a couple of. If this is your first time, of course this doesn't apply if you're experienced already kind of know this stuff. But if this is your first time, I'd suggest just making like 200 frame videos to start, just with a simple movement speed, not a lot of keyframe changes. Just kind of get an idea of how your prompt will look in a video, because your prompt will always look the best in a single render, because for one thing you're rendering more frames, and then you can also, you can render like 10 different images and then find the best 2 out of them. So in a video you want a prompt that is going to render a good image a lot more consistently. So you can also see that with this speed change now, my movement speed, or I mean my strength setting, doesn't keep it looking as good because we're moving quite fast now. So what that means is it's generating a lot more new material every image, and we've only got 30 steps there to render it. So like I was saying before, every single setting affects every other setting, and that is especially true in the video. Okay, and you can see now we're up to keyframe 50, and now we have our, this should be our 10.0. Yep, right there on keyframe 50, right on the dot. That's what I do love about this. Everything is mathematically precise. So I'm just going to stop this, and we'll go ahead and render it really quick. Okay, and here's our video, which will gradually increase in speed. So that might be something, you want to do for a little bit. I'm just kind of showing you, again, I'm showing you how all this stuff works so you can make the video that you want to make. So let me go back here. Let me show you how we would do this if we wanted it. Let's say we want to keep it at 3 to keyframe 50, or we want to keep it to keyframe 49. We want to start going up to 10 at keyframe 50. So how we would do that then is we would do this. We would write another keyframe that looks redundant because it's the same speed. This will keep it going at speed 3 from keyframe 0 to keyframe 49. Then at keyframe 50, then it will kick off into 10. And we could just leave this off the end here too right now. So let me go ahead and show you this version. This will keep it at speed 3 up to keyframe 50. Okay, and so you can see now here in our movement, we are staying at 3.0. We're on frame 32. And it is going to continue that until it hits keyframe 50, where then it will pick up and go into a breakneck speed of 10. So that's how you want to do that. And the same thing here, like if you want it to go back to 3 at like, let's say keyframe 80, instead of doing this, you don't want to do that, because then from keyframe 50 to keyframe 80, it's going to decrease from 10 until it hits 3. So you want to do something like this. Then at keyframe 80, you put your 3 in. Whoops. Correct syntax, of course, at all times. So everything is a mathematical precision dance in this. So this will stay at keyframe, or at speed 3 from keyframe 0 to 49. At keyframe 50, it will then jump immediately up to 10, where it will stay until keyframe 79. Then it will jump immediately back down to 3 at keyframe 80. So you can do it that way. You can also do increments if you want. There's a lot of different ways, like I said, to make the video. I'm just kind of showing you how to keep the syntax correct for which you want to create. And let's just go check on our video again here. Yep, and there it goes. And now it should be at a full speed of 10, which it is. As soon as it hit keyframe 50, it jumped immediately into 10, kicked it into gear. So you can get a lot of different results by kind of playing around with those gradual changes or those instant changes. Just depends, as always, on what you're doing. I just really wanted to kind of emphasize This part before we get into the next one, which will be keyframes, which is of course very important to your videos here. That is how you direct the movie, so to speak. That is your key to everything here is the keyframes. That's why there's the word key in it. So let's go ahead and just stop this here. I just kind of wanted to show you how that works. And then what I'll do next, and this might be actually a good place to bookmark so you can come back to it, but I'm going to show you every single of the movement settings in the 3D there so that we can learn all of them very well and give our videos a lot of variety in the movement. And then I think I'll close out this part 2 of the basics here with the prompt changes. So we can see here it's going to start off with a normal speed of 3. Then right at the end here, it should kick into speed there at 10. And there we go. So that is the difference between the two, between putting the speed at 3 and then a gradual change to 10 or just an instant change to 10. And so these are all just really good tools here that you can use in your videos. So the next thing we're going to do here, I'm just going to get rid of all of these, destroy everything I did there and showed you, and we're going to put this down to 0 for now. I'm just going to show you these 6 lines here. These are your movement keys. These are your most important movement keys for 3D video. They are, in fact, your only movement keys for 3D video. So let's start with the X here, which is left and right movement. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do it like this. We'll do a 3, then we'll go up to 30. We'll stay at 3, and then at 31. This is how you do the opposite way. You just do a negative. Oops, I forgot my colon there. Okay. And this will be a left and right movement. So a positive movement is going to move the camera to the right. A negative movement is going to move the camera to the left. Think of it as, again, as you're inside your level, your image there. Think of you as being a video game character in that. This is stepping to the right. This is stepping to the left. So that's what this is going to demonstrate. Okay, and I'm just going to load this and I'll come back when it's done. So I'm just going to keep this part kind of short just so we can use it as a reference. Okay, and here's our finished video, and you can see it starts off moving to the right and then back to the left. You can notice though that we also kind of get these lines, so you got to be kind of careful with these movements, especially when you combine them with the forward speed, which I have already done here. We're going to do this just one more time here. So this was our initial movement, our translation X, which is just 3 to the right, so it's not really that fast. And now I've thrown in, before on the video I just rendered, I had this on 0, but I'm now going to put in some movement speed as well. So let's go ahead and render this for a while, and I'll come check back when it's done. Okay, and our video is continuing to render here, and actually the left and right movement here kind of actually, with that forward movement, I mean, it kind of mitigated those lines we were getting. So you can, you can experiment around with it and mix your movements together. Just remember, anytime you do add another movement key, it's going to change the image a bit more, but let's go ahead and stop this. And this one actually came out rather nice from what I was looking at. It kind of gave us a nice sort of a aerial view of the landscape here. Let's go ahead and look at it. And then after this, I will just go ahead and continue on down the line, and I'll just demonstrate each movement key there. And I'll probably also post just a post in the comments about it and pin it just so we have that as a reference. So here is the same one we did last time. This just has a movement key of 3 to the right and then 3 to the left at keyframe 50 with a steady forward movement of 3. And so we can see there we're getting the movement there to the right and forward. Okay, and as this would go on longer, I'm not sure how well it would maintain the detail we're getting there. We actually are getting pretty nice detail up until about 5 seconds or so, but let's go ahead now and continue on. Okay, and let's go on, let's move on down now. Let's just go ahead and put this back down to 0, so our translation X is left and right. Our translation Y is up and down. So I'm just going to demonstrate this. We're going to start by going up. Then at keyframe 31, we're going to start to go down. And I'm just going to kind of go on down the line here just to demonstrate all of these keys here, just to give you a visual demonstration of what they all do. Okay, and here is our translation Y movement, up and then down. Pretty self-explanatory there, up and then down and then back again. Now the translation Z is, of course, the zoom forward and backward, but just to keep things consistent, I'll just go ahead and demonstrate this. Okay, and here, of course, is our main movement key, the Z. There it is, forward and then backward. And I just have backward speed of -1. That's why it went a lot slower. Now, I also want to point out that this translation Z here is the same thing as the zoom is in the 2D. So the zoom, again, in 3D mode does nothing. It doesn't do anything. So there again is our keyframe of Z, which will be our most important one. And I usually don't go as fast as 10, but you can, it just depends on how you have everything else. Maybe it's just kind of an abstract video, but anyways, that is our key Z. Let's now go ahead and go on to the rotation. So up until now, these have all been kind of direct movement keys of the camera itself. These are rotation movements. So these will be a lot different as you will see here. So our rotation for the 3DX, what that is going to do is that is actually going to do kind of a head tilt. So like up and down. So think of this key as moving up the camera up and down. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, and if you notice, it's doing it pretty extremely there. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go and turn that down a bit. Even though this is just a demo, let's do something a little more like what we would realistically maybe put in there. Let's just go down to 1. Okay, and again, this one is our rotation 3DX, which will tilt the camera up and down, as you see here, just like lifting your head up to the sky and then back to the ground again. That's what that one does. And so our next one here is going to be the Y, and what that will do is it'll be similar to the X, but this is going to be a left and right head turn. So we're going to go ahead and just put this one back down to 0. And then we will go to the rotation 3DY, which again will be like a left and right head movement. It's like you're looking left and right. Okay, and the video is finished. And again, this is our rotation 3DY, which is our right and head movements. So if you notice, we're turning our head to the right, then turning our head to the left. So be sure you know the difference between this and the translation. So with the translation, you would actually be stepping to the right. And with the rotation, it's like you're standing still, but just turning your head to the right. So that is the difference. Although they both can have kind of similar effects because you're looking to the right of the image, but there is a distinction. If you notice too, even though this is on 1, we are getting some pretty ugly lines when we do that direct turn back to the left. So we always want to kind of use these sparingly and kind of experiment using them with other movement keys, things like that. But let's go ahead now to our final one, which is going to be probably the one I use the least. This one can cause those kind of the scene distortion really bad because this one actually does a barrel roll. So this one, just like our zoom, our translation Z is the same as the zoom is in the 2D, and we do not use this parameter in 3D. Our rotation 3DZ is the same as the angle. I believe that in the 2D, this does the same type of thing, like a barrel roll. So we're going to go ahead and I'll test that out when we get to the 2D. But I believe that is the same one. So this is going to be our final movement key, and then after this, we are going to get into keyframes and the prompts. Let's go ahead and reverse that angle. Okay, so this one we're just going to have a barrel roll with a factor of 1. So we'll come check on it when this is done. Okay, and here is our final movement key, the barrel roll, the 3D translation Z. So you can see what this does. This just kind of rotates right and left like you're in a washing machine. So now I have now given you the keys to the Lamborghini, the F-16, and the rocket ship. You now have all movement keys. Let's just go ahead, just for fun, let's go ahead and turn them all on at once. We'll just give everything a nice idyllic 1, except for the forward motion. We'll go ahead and give that a 3, and I'll just do one final one here. And then we will get into the next portion of this video, the final portion, which will be the keyframes and the prompt changes. We'll get into that, and that should give you everything really you need to go and make a video. And I think that'll conclude this basic introduction, and then I'll get more into some of the advanced techniques on the next one, like math functions and things like that. Okay, and this is just kind of a demonstration of even though we have all these settings now, it's usually not a good idea to use them all at once. So you can see it's going to pretty quickly deteriorate. We're going to lose our coherency. So you want to kind of use these kind of sparingly and just at certain times for the most part. And this is again very general. This is doing, artistic things, anything creative. You can do things however you want for whatever you're trying to do. But just as a general rule, if you're trying to create a video, you kind of want a basis of like a forward movement or a backwards movement, and then you just kind of use these other movement keys from time to time just to give it some variety. You can also, there's nothing wrong with just making a video that just goes forward. I've seen a lot of great videos that just go forward but have interesting scene changes, and that's what we'll get into next year. So that is with everything turned on and a movement speed of 3. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dial everything back a bit here. We're going to go back down to 0 on everything. And we're going to get into, we'll go ahead and leave that at 3. And I'm going to get now into, so again, these will do gradual changes. So if I have this at starting at a keyframe 0 at a movement speed of 3, and I do something like this, it's not going to start going at 10. Whoops. It's not going to start going to speed 10 at keyframe 50. It's going to change from a speed of 3 to a speed of 10 from between keyframe 0 and 50. So we always want to keep that in mind for everything except for the prompts, which I'm going to get into next. These will change instantaneously if you put them there. So here's our first prompt at keyframe 0. And this is where we're going to just get a little bit into the more kind of advanced techniques here. So this one, I'm now going to put in a different prompt here at keyframe 50. Another one that was in my weeklies a little while ago that I released to everybody. Okay, so I have a prompt here that might have a couple similar elements, like it'll still have landscape, but it'll be pretty different. So this will change. This will wait until keyframe 50 to start changing prompts. It won't gradually change from keyframe 0 to 50. It will stay on this prompt until it hits keyframe 50. So that is the one exception there to those mathematical rules that we're learning now and how this works. Everything else up here in the animation section, for the most part, will do a gradual change if you don't put in like a buffer, like put in keyframe 49, 3 also. So I'm just going to run this as is, just with a movement speed of 3. So at keyframe 50, it will start changing into our second prompt there. And I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we'll come check on it when it is done. Okay, and I just want to come in here and point something out too. Now we are at keyframe 64. So it is already 14 keyframes into that prompt change. But if you notice, we still have a lot of the kind of colors and everything left over from our last prompt, because it will take a while because of our strength setting there, it's going to take a little while to look exactly like our new prompt. So if you have a real nice prompt and as soon as it starts rendering, you're thinking, this doesn't look like my nice, beautiful prompt. This is not my beautiful prompt. These are not my beautiful trees. Well, this is the reason. It's because of that strength setting. It's still kind of keeping a bunch of the old prompt in there. So what I'm going to do, and this will be kind of a segue also into my next 3D video, which will be with a bit more advanced techniques. But I'm going to show you one technique here real quick just to get that to change. And it's just as simple as turning the strength setting way down at that stage, and then that way we can kind of give it a reboot. So I'm going to go ahead and let this finish though up to keyframe 100 or so, and then we'll come check on it when it's done. And then I'll probably close out with showing you that last thing you can do here. Okay, and here's our video now with the prompt changes and just our basic forward movement. And so right about halfway, so at about 4.5 seconds, it's going to start changing into this next prompt here, which is the waterfalls and things. If you notice though, we still have a whole lot of our green color there and our old prompt kind of sticking around. And really that looks horrible compared to what my second prompt normally will look like. And let me just show you here really quick, just because you will get kind of this. If you're trying to mix two prompts together, there's a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you just kind of I guess we would call this the kind of easiest way to get it to change, but also it'll be coherent, but it will just quickly change. It'll be not much different really than just putting in a completely different video, just kind of splicing two videos together. So I'll get into a little more advanced techniques on the next video to kind of show you how to do that. But right now I'm just going to show you how different my prompt actually looks here, just rendering it by itself than it looked in the video. And so just to show you again how that second prompt looks in the video, because it is continuing off of our first prompt, it's going to take some time to actually get to look like your second prompt there, especially with the color coherence and everything else we've got going on in a video. So you really want to kind of get a very good grasp of your changes and things before you start doing a lot of multi-prompt videos. That's again why I'd really recommend just in the beginning, just kind of starting with one prompt, a simple forward movement, getting used to doing that, and then once you're satisfied, you have that down, then move on to the multi-prompts because these can be kind of tricky to make. So let me just show you really quick here, and I can go ahead and turn the steps down for this down to 40 since it's just a single image. I'm just going to render one. I'll just show you how different just the prompt by itself will look here than it will in the video I just rendered. Oops, sorry, nope, that's the right prompt. Oh, I forgot to run it. There we go. Okay. I just forgot to run the prompt after I entered it. So it was doing the old one, which was with my custom model and probably is going to look horrible on a regular model because I designed that prompt especially for my custom model. Okay, and so here's the render. So if you notice, it looks a lot different. This still never really looks anything like that. Let me go ahead and just render a couple more here. And I might even have it on a different model too. That's the other thing too. If you're rendering images from your prompts and you're creating a video, the images you make might use a lot of different, not models, but the samplers. So you also might want to first render, that's what I'd recommend first. Before you throw any prompt in a video, like there it is, that's a little better. And that looks, again, nothing like this. So it needs time to get to this stage. So let me show you a quick technique here now. We're going to go ahead and go back to video mode now. And I'm just going to show you kind of a quick and dirty technique just to get right over to that second prompt. I'm just going to go ahead and we're not going to change anything here. We're going to keep this the same. Or no, we're not. I lied. We are going to go down here to the strength. We're just going to turn our strength down at keyframe 50. And that way it'll just quickly change over to our new prompt. Where did my strength schedule go? There it is. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, first, again, of course, we want to do everything in increments. So I'm going to keep it at 0.62 right up until keyframe 50. Keyframe 50, I can just completely wipe the slate clean with a 0. Or I could do maybe just a little bit more of a gradual, but let's just go ahead and do this. This will just be a way where you can get your prompts. And I'm just going to do the same thing just for a few more frames here. And then here at keyframe 54, we should have something nice and new. So we're then just going to put it down there to 0.62. So I'm just going to do this to kind of close out this tutorial because now I think you have all the elements here to make a 3D video. And this will show you also how you can change it. You can also do that a little more gradually. There's other ways too. Besides this, you can also just crank the speed way up, but it's still going to be rendering at that 0.62. So I would say this is a much cleaner way of kind of switching it from prompt to prompt. So let's go ahead and run our video again here, and we'll come see how this did when it's done. Okay, and just again, as a reminder, here was our transition on the last video where I didn't do anything to the strength settings and just kind of kept it moving forward. So if you notice it changes a little, just kind of becomes really just kind of incoherent there, but we can't even really tell that the prompt has changed. So this should be a vast difference here. This is an effective technique. It's an effective technique for making sure that all of your prompts do look like your prompts, and they will still keep a bit of the color. If you notice too, like I said, the first frame is always the best one because it's rendering more steps. So what we could also do to mitigate this just a bit is just give it more steps. Just give it twice as many steps. So right now I had this at, oh yeah, I also did turn the steps down pretty far. Let's just go ahead and give this something crazy like 200 steps. Let's just do this as the finale here, and then I'm actually going to render a video, one of my own videos, to kind of show you how all these elements can kind of come together to close it out here. Okay, and again, just as a reminder, I just want to show this again. We can see how this kind of loses detail pretty quickly because it doesn't really start off with a very good base there either. So let me go ahead and show you. We're going to go ahead and render this new one. And I'll show you that one final technique there where you can just turn up the steps. You can always do that. So everything you do costs something when you turn up the steps. That's going to, of course, cost you a lot more time to render, but everything is a trade-off here. So we'll go ahead and watch this video, and then I'm also going to close out. I'm going to go ahead and, well, here it goes. That finished quickly. So let's go and see the difference between this one and the last one. As far as quality, we can see just in general, the quality looks a little better. And especially when we get to that second prompt, it really had more time to kind of generate a full version of it with those additional steps. So the saying there's more than one way to skin a cat is especially true with this notebook and videos. There's a myriad of different ways you can do something or correct something. In here you can turn up steps, you can turn up strength, you can turn up down strength, you can do the movement. There's just all kinds of different ways to manipulate the settings. That's why I love this notebook so much, and why I love Disco Diffusion Notebook so much is because there's so many different ways you can micromanage it. So no matter what kind of a video you're trying to make, there will be a way you can accomplish what you want with this. If not exactly, at least pretty close, especially as far as just fixing things or getting more detail. So I'm going to go ahead and close out with this. I feel now you have, if you watching these first two parts, this gives you all the basics you need to go and generate a video with your prompts with text to prompt. And my next one on 3D video will be a more advanced video about how to specifically do the movement keys at certain times. And I actually have a technique I've kind of developed that I'll go ahead and throw in one of my videos here at the end that I just made, which is for my new sorceress model that I have updated for my Patreon page. I actually made it back in November, but I've since upgraded it quite a bit and it's looking real nice. So I'm going to close out with a video I just did for that that will kind of demonstrate some of the more advanced techniques, which actually involve catering the movement to the video in kind of real time. Like as I'm watching it, I'll do changes, and that is done. I will show you how in that video, and I'll also have videos on the 2D animation, the video input, the interpolation, everything that is in this notebook. I will be doing guides on. I just felt it was really important, which is why I broke this up into two parts to understand the strength setting and the way that that can affect it, and also as well just to understand your limits with the movements and how everything affects everything else. That's the most important takeaway from all this. Every setting you do will have an effect on another setting. So there's not really any perfect way to do the videos. You want to find the way to do the video for you. So you want to know how to change the settings, do what you want. That's all I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to tell you my way is the best or anything. I'm just kind of trying to show you, hopefully, kind of open your mind up a little bit as to how you can accomplish what you want to do and how all of these settings can work in harmony with each other and how you can use them to your advantage. Use the micromanagement in this notebook to your advantage. That's the best takeaway I think from all this. So thank you once again. As always, this is going to be a great year. I'm really excited about this year and for AI in general. The singularity should be well on the way by now, and you'll have a great rest of your week. I will be back soon, and I'm going to close out again. I'm going to show just kind of a preview. I haven't really edited much or increased the frame rate or anything, but I'm just going to show you a preview of my sorceress model that I did a video of. And so this is really going to be a preview though of the advanced tutorial I'm going to do on 3D video. That will be out sometime. It will be out sometime. Okay, thank you all. You have a great rest of your night, weekend, whatever it is, and I will see you soon. And here I'm going to close out with my new video here. Okay, so this next video, this was a custom model that I originally did in November, but I've upgraded a bit since then. That's going to be on my Patreon page soon. But anyways, this video just kind of demonstrates how you can use it to kind of keep the subject as the main part of the video. And you can see I'm zooming in, then backwards. So everything I've showed you is going to be the basis for this next advanced tutorial. I'll show you where you can do things like this, which my main goal with these kind of videos is just mainly to keep the subject in focus and have the prompt changes take effect. Like right there, I lowered the strength a bit. There, when the subject starts getting out of the frame, I'll get them back in the frame and that kind of thing. So I think that you now have a good basis, and this is what I'll show you how to do the next time in the more advanced tutorials. So thank you for watching. This is going to be a great year.